being blamed. So the probability of being caught, and then how long or severe the punishment if you are found guilty. And then there's something they call disutility, the disutility of going to jail. For some people, going to jail is actually not a big deal. It is a break. Because sometimes some criminals cheat others. So, in other words, the state protects them from being murdered by their business rivals. Then number 4, expected earnings from the illegal activity. And risk aversion. Nowadays, because of capabilities of those who want to commit crime, many criminals are not risk averse anymore. Then what are the alternatives to crime? For many young people, there are fewer opportunities. So crime becomes an alternative to the legal labor market. There are studies that show the drivers. The top driver is unemployment. Of course, people look for employment in order to earn and take care of their families, pay their rent, and meet their usual needs. So if you're unemployed, then you don't have income. If crime offers you an opportunity to earn income, either you smuggle young girls to become sex workers, or you traffic young people to join terrorist organizations. Here in Uganda, there are some groups that can offer you up to $2,000. They claim it is a month, but I doubt. But if you receive the first $2,000, definitely you are likely to want to join them. The second is peer pressure. The peer pressure need not be direct, because if somebody who has joined this transnational or transboundary criminal network is doing well, let's say they have bought a car and they have built a house, that is enough pressure on you to try it out. Of course, there is greed. You can't rule out greed. And then there are those who are first subjected to mind-bending drugs. So substance abuse also becomes a driver. And then the other is what we call easy money, which makes it very attractive in terms of business. It's therefore important to come up with some tough measures. It's important that the word is out there that it is very risky business. So I pose to you a question. By the time you leave here, ask yourselves, how risky is it for people to commit these crimes that victimize women and children? In your own countries, is it really that risky? South Africa has done something to lead the way. While preparing to speak to you, I came across the case of Cheryl Chwale. She was arrested in 2012. She's a South African and charged with drug trafficking. She was tried and sentenced to 12 years. Hers was a very serious case. You have to know that some of these crimes are not really in our faces. The crimes that are in our faces are the crimes which involve the shedding of blood. Some of these so-called bloodless crimes, even our judges don't take them that seriously. So for all her depravity, she was sentenced to 12 years. Because nobody knows how many people have committed suicide because of her, how many people are languishing in foreign countries because of her. They are seeing this beautiful young lady who is presenting herself as a victim of recruiters. Fortunately, when she appealed against her sentence, the South African Court of Appeal was wide awake. They increased her sentence from 12 to 15 years. No, to 20. They increased it from 12 to 20 years. That always sends out what? Being tough. Now, look at our region. We have two oceans, the Atlantic and Indian Ocean. We are easily accessible to those who want to create caliphates in the Middle East. That is a vulnerability factor. In fact, there's supposed to be a caliphate which comes to Congo. We are also, as Uganda, we have also made our own contribution through a group known as the Allied Democratic Front, ADF. I think the leaders aspire to be governors of the caliphate. The regional conflicts also weaken state capacity. Which police officer is going to investigate a crime in these volcanic areas where conflicts are simmering? And then 360 degrees, the criminal justice system is underfunded. The prosecutors are not as well paid. Here in Uganda, we have tried to enhance the pay of Her Lordship Justice Abodo's prosecutors. But I think she has less than 40% of the people she needs. So however well paid they are, still she cannot have the impact needed. The police are yet to get salary enhancement. Then it comes to my table. Political and legal capacity. However capable you are, if the laws are weak. Justice Abodo has been pushing us concerning the 48-hour law. Because in Uganda, we are not supposed to keep you in custody for more than 48 hours. The Minister of Justice in me wants to amend the law, but the human rights activist in me does not want to amend the law. The debate is still going on, but I do believe that we are going to come up with some proviso. If we don't have the capacity to gather enough evidence, that is why in Uganda today, most of the time, if your case is not yet well investigated, then you are charged with some outrageous crime, like terrorism. So that way you are just taken to court and immediately taken to jail. You may not actually have anything to do with any terrorist activity. But you know, terrorism is such a broad crime that it is a catch-all. So we are partly to blame in terms of weak laws and even a weak judiciary. The judiciary has also had its salary enhanced. This coming month, we are going to give them all the stuff that they need to back up the judges and so on. And the Chief Justice, I believe, is going to join you. He will tell you his plan. He's fighting backlog. And also ensuring that some of these offenses that can be dealt with through plea bargaining stop wasting court's time. The other thing is for us to become alive to international instruments. I hope you'll all get copies of the UN Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime, the 2003 Convention and all its protocols. I make the following recommendations. We have to deal with our porous borders. Because now we have got, in French, Justice Abodo says that I can say French words better. I can't say them, but I'm just maybe less shy than you. I'm more confident in my era. Sort of like Mr. Bean. If you watched his movie, he was going on holiday and he got lost. And he was going to a train station known as Gare de Lyon. But you know the French, I don't know why they just don't spell things the way they say them. So Mr. Bean said Gare de Lion, which of course the French could not understand until he showed them a piece of paper and they say, oh, Gare de Lyon. So we now came up with a phrase, we call it criminals sans frontières. Criminals without borders. So, why would a criminal pass through the normal border anyway? So when we say porous borders, we are not talking about Entebbe Airport. We are not talking about Busia. We are not talking about Gatuna. We are not talking about Heathrow or Charles de Gaulle. We are talking about those other areas that nobody in uniform is watching. Of course, we have some geniuses in the world. Thank God America produced one and he decided that there should be a wall built between his country and another country. Very simple because, you know, by the time his people had second thoughts about his presidential credentials, he had not gone very far with the project. I don't think that's what we are talking about. I think it is better to cooperate. You can cooperate because people have been known to dig tunnels under walls and so on. Criminals are very flexible. Chinua Achebe said, when man learns to shoot without missing, birds will learn to fly without perching. They'll never stop to wait for you to shoot at them. The other problem is drugs. Money laundering, you've talked about it. As you know, Uganda is currently on the gray list. We are fighting. We have signed a number of instruments so that we are removed from the gray list. Because the next list is the black list, where we shall join the glorious company of North Korea, Iran, and Myanmar. And I don't think that's very good company for a country like Uganda. And we thank the Office of the DPP and the Financial Intelligence Authority of Uganda and all the other agencies for warning the government about this issue. In any case, this issue is fundamental because these transboundary crimes bring income, illegal earnings. Now, how do you move that money around? You must have a country that does not care about monitoring. And unfortunately, I actually personally don't think Uganda is so badly off. I somehow think we are getting a bad rap for a number of other reasons. But I think there are countries that are worse off than Uganda in this money laundering business. But maybe they know how to cover their tracks better. That's off the record. Don't say the Minister of Justice is protesting the judgment of those international authorities.